Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going deep into AI and medicine.
Sounds exciting.
It is. We're dissecting this book, New W, The AI Revolution in Medicine,
Right.
GPT-4 and beyond.
Okay.
And it's full of examples of GPT-4 already making waves, like diagnosing tricky diseases, helping doctors out,
Yeah.
even giving patients info.
Right.
So get ready for some serious aha moments. We're about to uncover some really fascinating stuff.
I'm ready.
All right. So what's really cool is how this book uses real-world stories to bring these concepts to life.
Yeah, like this story about Kristen,
Oh, right,
a
Kristen.
fictional resident,
Yeah,
She uses GPT-4 to figure out what's wrong with a patient, Juan.
yeah.
He has this rare blood infection.
Yep.
But what's really striking is that GPT-4 doesn't just diagnose him.
Right.
It actually, helps get authorization from the insurance for this super expensive antibiotic he needs.
Wow, so it's
Yeah.
like a medical expert and an insurance whiz all in one.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and this isn't just, a made-up thing.
Yeah,
The book talks about how GPT-4 aced the USMLE.
that's that.
Oh, that's the medical licensing exam.
Oh, wow.
So it really shows you how much it understands, complex medical stuff.
Okay, so it's basically a doctor then.
Well, not so fast.
Yeah.
It's really important to remember that GPT-4 is a tool,
Right.
a powerful tool,
Okay.
but it's not meant to replace human
That
doctors.
makes sense.
The authors are very clear about that. It's about helping human expertise, not replacing it.
Got it. So it's more like a high-tech sidekick for doctors?
exactly.
Helping them with going through data, making reports,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even suggesting different treatment options.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
And you know what? This partnership could really help with a huge problem in healthcare.
What's that?
Paperwork.
Ugh, paperwork.
The book calls it pajama time.
Pajama time.
Yeah, all those hours doctors and nurses spend after their shifts doing documentation.
Oh, right.
It's a big reason for burnout,
Yeah.
Takes away from time with patients.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's where GPT-4 comes in.
Okay, yeah.
It can streamline all that admin stuff.
Oh, right. I see where you're going with this.
The book actually shows how GPT-4 can create, full clinical notes just from a conversation between a doctor and a patient.
Wow, that's amazing. Think of all the time saved.
Right.
Less burnout, too.
Exactly. And it's not just notes. It can make summaries of the visits that are easy for patients to understand.
Oh, that's really important.
It can even answer those questions about drug interactions and stuff.
Yeah, those are always confusing.
Right. So imagine you have reliable medical information at your fingertips anytime.
Okay, that all sounds amazing, but
Oh, thanks.
can we really trust this thing? I mean, is it actually understanding all this info?
Right.
Or is it just mimicking human language without really getting it?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
And the book addresses it head on. They talk about this one example where GPT-4 gets a BMI calculation wrong.
Uh-oh.
But then, get this, it corrects itself when it's asked about it again.
So it can learn from its mistakes.
Exactly. It shows it can learn and correct itself.
Okay, that's reassuring.
But it also brings up this issue of what they call hallucinations.
Hallucinations?
In AI.
Okay.
It means the AI creates info that sounds real, but is actually wrong.
Oh, I see. So even though GPT-4 is impressive, we still need to be careful.
Yeah, definitely. Healthy skepticism is key.
Always double check, especially with medical stuff.
Exactly. Human oversight is super important.
Right. Can't just let the machines take over completely.
Now, GPT-4's role in diagnosis and information, it's amazing.
Hmm.
But there's more. The book goes deeper
Okay, deeper.
into how GPT-4 can handle ethical stuff.
What? An AI dealing with ethics?
Yeah, it sounds like sci-fi, right?
It does.
But the book shows how GPT-4 answers these, morally tricky questions. It gives nuanced answers, considers different ethical frameworks, the whole shebang.
Wow, so we're talking about AI that can actually think about right and wrong.
In a way, yeah.
That raises some serious questions like, what does this mean for how we understand morality?
Right.
And what about decision-making in healthcare? This is complex stuff.
It is.
It is. So while it's fascinating that GPT-4 can grapple with ethics, we also need to be super careful about transparency and accountability with these AI systems.
Absolutely, especially in medicine where decisions can have huge consequences.
Yeah, people's lives are at stake.
Exactly. So yeah, the potential benefits of GPT-4 are huge, no doubt, but the ethical side needs serious attention as we move forward.
Absolutely. This is uncharted territory. We're just starting to explore it.
We are.
And this book is giving us a lot to think about.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential and the kind of the challenges of GPT-4 in medicine, but how does this thing actually work? What's going on under the hood?
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? Because it's super complex, but it all comes down to this this thing called a neural network, basically a computer system that's modeled after the human brain.
So it's like a digital brain that learns and processes info.
Exactly. Picture this like network of interconnected nodes, kind of like neurons in our brains.
Okay. Yeah.
Each node gets input, processes it, sends output to other nodes. And this whole web, it learns from tons of data, sees patterns, makes connections.
So the more data it crunches, the smarter it gets.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
GPT-4 has been trained on like an insane amount of text and code.
Wow.
It can write human-like text, translate languages, even answer your questions.
Okay, so the data part makes sense, but does it really like understand this info?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Some experts think it's just really good at matching patterns, mimicking us without really getting it. Others think that as it processes more and more, it starts to kind of develop a deeper understanding, like almost an intelligence that emerges.
Emergent intelligence, that's pretty wild.
It is. So yeah, the jury's still out on whether it truly understands. But the results, they speak for themselves.
Okay, so how does this training actually happen? You said massive amounts of text and code.
You basically feed the AI a huge data set.
Okay.
Books, articles, code, you name it. And it analyzes this stuff, looks for patterns, relationships between words, ideas.
So it's building like a giant map of the English language and how ideas connect.
Exactly. And once it's got this map, it can do amazing things.
Like
generate new text, translate, write different kinds of creative text formats, answer your questions, all sorts of stuff.
wow. So understanding language and code, that opens up some crazy possibilities.
Definitely. And it doesn't just stop there. It's constantly learning. Every time we use it, it gets better.
So it's like always evolving.
Yeah. Which brings us back to those ethical questions.
Right.
The book talks about like the potential for GPT-4 to be used for bad stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's a scary thought.
It is. So we need to be really careful about how we develop it, how we use it, make sure it's responsible.
Absolutely. So what about accountability? Like, if it makes a mistake, who's to blame? The doctor, the people who made it, the hospital?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Legal experts and ethicists are still figuring that out.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of careful thought to get it right.
And then there's the impact on jobs, right? Like,
Yeah.
are doctors and nurses going to be replaced by robots?
Well, the book says that, yeah, AI is going to change healthcare jobs for sure. Some tasks will probably be automated, which could free up healthcare workers to focus on the more human aspects of care.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Not at all. It's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
Humans and AI working together, each doing what they do best.
That makes sense. So what does this future look like? How do we prepare for it?
The book's all about that. They talk about collaborating, having open discussions,
Okay.
involving everyone, not just like the government, but patient groups, medical societies, everyone.
Right, it's a shared responsibility to get this right.
Exactly. And the book outlines some concrete steps we can take,
Like what?
like making sure these AI systems are thoroughly tested before they're used on real patients.
Makes sense.
Not just in a lab, but in the real world.
Yeah, got to see how they perform in real life situations.
Exactly. And having human oversight always.
Right, not just letting the AI do whatever it wants.
And being transparent. Patients should know how the AI is making decisions, what data it's using.
Okay, so no more black boxes.
Right. And we need constant monitoring. Keep an eye on how these systems are doing, make adjustments if needed. It's a continuous process.
So it's about learning and adapting as we go.
Exactly. And it all comes down to working together. Developers, doctors, regulators, patients, everyone.
So it's a collective effort to shape the future of healthcare, make sure it benefits everyone.
That's it.
Now, we've talked ethics, societal impact, but what about research? How can GPT-4 change the game there?
Oh, the book paints a pretty amazing picture.
Tell me more.
It sees AI being used in every step of research.
Wow.
From finding new drugs to designing trials, analyzing data, even sharing the results.
So it's not just speeding things up, it's changing how research is done, period.
Exactly. Imagine AI going through mountains of data, finding patterns we might miss, coming up with new ideas.
Like having a team of super smart research assistants working 24/7.
Pretty much. The potential is huge. But of course, there are things to be cautious about.
Like what?
Like bias in the data. We've talked about that. It's super important to have diverse data sets.
Right, so the AI doesn't just learn from one group of people.
Exactly. Otherwise, you get biased algorithms that could make things worse, not better.
So it's about making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a few.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but let's bring it back to you, the listener. How could GPT-4 impact your own healthcare?
Yeah, what does this actually mean for the average person?
Well, the book talks about a future where everyone has their own personal AI assistant, like a medical Siri or Alexa.
That's interesting.
It's like having a 247 health coach in your pocket.
What would that even look like?
They introduce this character, Dora.
Dora.
She has a heart condition, and she uses her AI assistant, Frida, to manage it.
Okay.
Frida tracks her symptoms, reminds her about meds, even finds clinical trials for her.
Wow, that sounds pretty empowering.
It is. Patients can be more involved in their own care.
But isn't there a risk of, people becoming too reliant on the AI?
Right, that's a good point.
Yeah.
What if they start self-diagnosing or treating themselves based on what the AI says?
Yeah, that's a bit worrying.
It is. It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Empowering patients but keeping them safe.
So how do we do that?
Well, the book talks about the need for clear guidelines, education, maybe even some kind of certification for these AI tools.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. We need to figure out how to use this technology responsibly.
Definitely. This whole AI thing, it's a huge shift in healthcare.
It is exciting and a little scary at the same time.
Yeah, but it's important to have these conversations now, figure out the opportunities and the challenges.
This deep dive has been eye-opening for sure. It's not just about the tech, it's about the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about the future of healthcare and how we want to shape it.
So what's next? Where do we go from here?
Well, the future of AI in medicine, it's not set in stone. It's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
We have the power to make choices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This book gives us a roadmap, helps us navigate all this. It's definitely worth a read for anyone interested in healthcare and the future.
Okay, so that wraps up our deep dive into GPT-4 and the AI revolution in medicine.
It does, and it's been a fascinating journey.
We've learned a lot. We've seen the incredible potential of AI to transform healthcare for the better.
We have. From diagnosing diseases to accelerating research to empowering patients, it's amazing stuff.
But we've also seen that there are challenges.
Definitely. Ethical concerns, the impact on jobs, the risk of bias, and the need to be super careful about how we develop and use this technology.
It's clear that AI is changing the game in healthcare, but it's up to all of us to make sure it's a change for the better.
Absolutely.
We need to be thoughtful, responsible, and make sure that everyone benefits from this AI revolution.
I couldn't agree more.
So, what's your final takeaway from all this? What's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I think it's that the future of AI in medicine is not predetermined. It's up to us to decide how we want to use this powerful technology.
That's a great point. We have the power to shape the future of healthcare.
We do. And that's both exciting and a little bit daunting. But it's definitely something we need to be thinking about and talking about.
Absolutely. So, to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you a lot to think about.
We hope so too.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The AI revolution in medicine is well underway, and the possibilities are truly limitless.
Stay tuned, because things are about to get really interesting.
All right, so we've talked about the potential of GPT-4 and all the big questions it brings up, but let's get down to brass tacks. How does this thing actually, work? What's the magic behind it?
Well, at the heart of it all is something called a transformer.
A transformer?
Yeah, it's a kind of neural network, but it's designed to handle sequential data, like words in a sentence.
Okay, so it's not just seeing words, it's getting the whole flow of the sentence.
Exactly. It can analyze the whole context, see how words and phrases relate to each other. That's how it generates text that's not just grammatically correct, but actually makes sense in the context.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. But how does it learn to do that? I mean, nobody's sitting there programming every single rule of grammar and context.
Right. That's where the training comes in.
Okay.
They feed GPT-4 a massive amount of data. We're talking books, articles, websites, code, you name it.
Wow.
And during this training, it's basically playing this giant game of guess the next word.
Guess the next word.
Yeah, based on the words that come before it. And through this process, it picks up on all the nuances of language, the grammar, even different writing styles.
Okay, that makes sense. But we've also been talking about GPT-4 understanding, like complex medical info. How does that work with this whole transformer model?
Well, think of it like a huge network of nodes, right? Each node represents a piece of information, a concept. As it learns from medical texts, it starts connecting these nodes, building this web of medical knowledge.
So it's not just memorizing facts, it's actually like building an understanding of how they all fit together.
Exactly, and that lets it not just recall info, but reason about it, make connections, even come up with hypotheses.
Wow, like a real doctor.
Kind of, yeah. And this brings us back to that idea of emergent intelligence.
Right, that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, like as these AI systems learn more and more, are they actually becoming intelligent in a way that goes beyond just, following patterns?
It's a mind-blowing concept.
It is. Some experts think, yeah, maybe. Others say they're still just machines, even if they're super complex.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to think about, honestly.
It is, because if they are developing real intelligence, what does that mean for the future?
Exactly.
What could they achieve, and what do we need to be careful about?
Yeah, those are big questions.
They are. But even if we don't have all the answers yet, the potential of AI in medicine it's undeniable.
It is. We've seen that throughout this whole deep dive.
And as we move forward, it's on us to make sure this technology is used for good.
Right, to benefit everyone, to improve healthcare for all of us.
Exactly.
So I think this deep dive has really opened our eyes to what's possible with AI.
It has. And it's just the beginning.
Yeah, the future of healthcare is being rewritten right before our eyes. And who knows what amazing breakthroughs are just around the corner.
Who knows indeed.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
We have.
And I want to thank you, the listener, for joining us on this incredible journey.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, this is just the start of the conversation. We need to keep learning, keep questioning, and keep working together to shape the future of AI in medicine.
Absolutely. The future is in our hands.
So stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged, because this is a conversation that affects us all.